You bought that bracelet with hope. Maybe it was jade. Maybe another stone someone said could shift your energy, bring clarity, protect your peace, attract abundance. And for a while it felt right. You wore it to meetings, to bed, on days you needed something extra. But lately, things feel off. Not dramatically, just subtly misaligned. A sense that money slips through faster, that your focus wavers, that you're doing everything right but nothing's quite landing. You haven't blamed the jewelry. Why would you? It's small, silent, beautiful. But some objects don't just sit on the body, they interact with it, with your energy. And when that connection isn't aligned, they don't just stop helping, they quietly begin to block. Not out of malice, just mismatch. Because certain stones amplify what's already in you. If you're centered, they ground you. But if you're scattered, unsure, carrying weight you haven't released, they can magnify that too. That's not superstition, that's sensitivity. And it's why the same piece that supports one person can drain another. In this video, we're not talking about magic. We're talking about match, about recognizing when something you wear might not be helping you anymore, and how to tell if you were truly meant to carry its energy in the first place. Part 1. When jewelry becomes a drain, not a blessing. You didn't just wear that bracelet because it was pretty. You wore it because it meant something. It stood for protection, grounding, maybe even prosperity. And for a while, it seemed to work. A job came through. Sleep got easier. Conversations flowed more gently. You didn't question it, you just felt supported. But now, things feel heavier. Not in the obvious ways. Bills still get paid. People still smile. But something underneath is dragging. Focus slips faster. Rest doesn't restore the way it used to. You feel like you're walking uphill, even on the good days. And the bracelet? Still on your wrist, still beautiful. But is it helping you, or quietly holding something back? We don't like to think that a piece of jewelry could drain us. It feels too small to matter, too still to be a threat. But energy doesn't care about appearances. Energy flows or it doesn't. And the things we wear every day can quietly shift how that flow moves through us. Jewelry, especially when chosen with intention, isn't neutral. It reflects, magnifies, absorbs. And when something that's supposed to align with you no longer does, it doesn't stay silent, it distorts. Like a speaker tuned to the wrong frequency, it turns every signal into noise. You may not even notice it at first. You just feel more tired, more indecisive, more reactive. You miss cues, delay decisions. Your timing feels off, and you blame stress, hormones, bad luck. But sometimes it's the object that changed, or you did. Here's what no one tells you: just because something once supported you doesn't mean it always will. Energy shifts, healing happens, grief leaves, growth begins. And if your inner world evolves, but the object on your body still holds the imprint of who you were, it can create friction. You're trying to step forward while wearing a mirror of your past. That's not grounding. That's resistance. And it shows up in the smallest, most persistent ways: missed emails, restless sleep, gut feelings you keep ignoring. This isn't about fear. It's about paying attention. Because sometimes the most sacred objects become the quietest saboteurs, not by intention, but by mismatch. And you deserve to know the difference. Not every bracelet belongs to every wrist. Not every stone is meant to walk your path with you forever. And knowing when something has served its season, that's not failure. That's discernment. That's strength. So if you've been feeling a quiet tug, like something's a little off, but you can't name it, start here. Start with what's closest to your skin. Start with what you carry without question. Because the things you wear aren't just decoration. They're part of your field. And if they're no longer helping you rise, they may be holding you down. Gently, invisibly, persistently. And once you notice it, you can change it. You can shift. You can choose again. That's where your power begins. Not with what you add, but with what you're willing to release. Part 2. 5 signs you're not aligned with this stone, jade, or others. Number 1. You feel anxious, wired, or sleepless when wearing it. You go to bed, hoping for rest, but your mind won't stop racing. Your body's tired, but something inside feels like it's still buzzing. You've double-checked your routine: no caffeine too late, screens turned off early, bedroom cool and quiet. Still, Your heart beats just a bit faster than usual. You toss. You turn. And every few nights it's the same. You wake up more drained than when you closed your eyes. And maybe, just maybe, there's something on your wrist or around your neck that's become part of the problem. This isn't about blame. It's about noticing, because the first and most overlooked sign that you're not aligned with a stone, especially one meant to support you, like jade, is restlessness. A sense that your nervous system is on edge, even when your circumstances don't justify it. It's not always loud. Sometimes it's a faint pressure in your chest, a tension in your shoulders, a flutter of unease that has no name, no story, just presence. And it doesn't go away until you take it off. Here's the thing: when a stone resonates with you, it calms you. It supports your natural rhythm. It doesn't just look good, it feels good. It becomes part of your breath, your pace, your peace. But when the match is off, the stone doesn't stay silent. It hums against you. Gently, persistently, disrupting the very balance it was supposed to bring. And you might not notice it at first. You'll blame stress, hormones, age, the weather. But the pattern speaks. The nights get harder. The anxiety shows up in subtle, daily ways: short temper, shallow breath, scattered focus. And still, you wear it. Because it's beautiful. Because it was gifted. Because you spent good money on it. Or because you've convinced yourself you should feel better, and the fact that you don't feels like your fault. But it isn't. Not all misalignment is emotional. Sometimes, it's energetic. You wouldn't wear shoes that pinch your feet just because they're expensive. So why wear energy that doesn't fit your nervous system? When jade or any stone is out of sync with your frequency, it can overstimulate instead of support, especially if you're already a sensitive soul. Especially if you tend to carry emotion in your chest, your gut, your sleep. The stone doesn't mean harm, but it reflects what's unresolved. It amplifies what's already brewing beneath the surface. And if what's there is worry, fear, mental clutter, it will echo louder. This is why the first sign to look for is not in your calendar or your finances. It's in your sleep, your breath, your sense of ease. If you feel more jittery with the stone on than off, that's not superstition. That's your body speaking. And your body doesn't lie. There's no shame in that realization. No failure. You're not doing anything wrong. You're simply being invited to reassess what still fits. And if that bracelet no longer brings calm, if it brings static instead of softness, then maybe its work is done. Maybe it served a past version of you. Maybe now, you're ready to let it rest. Because you deserve rest. Not just at night, but inside yourself. You deserve jewelry that grounds you, not just adorns you. And when you find what truly aligns, you'll feel it. In your chest, in your breath. In the quiet, steady way your nervous system finally exhales. That's the kind of energy that supports wealth, not by rushing it in, but by clearing space for it to land. And sometimes, that support begins with letting go. Number 2. You're overly cautious or controlling about money. You track every penny. Double-check every transaction. You plan months ahead, build buffers, and hesitate before every purchase, no matter how small. You call it being responsible, and in many ways, it is. But underneath that vigilance, there's tension, not logic, fear. And it doesn't just live in your bank account. It shows up in your shoulders, in the way your stomach tightens when an unexpected bill arrives, in how you replay financial decisions long after they've been made. That anxiety doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. But it also makes certain stones, like jade, harder to align with. Jade is often called a prosperity stone. It's meant to support abundance, peace, and flow. But flow doesn't mix well with control. You can't hold on tightly and expect energy to move freely. And when your relationship with money is rooted in fear of loss, fear of not having enough, fear of what might go wrong, then wearing a stone that amplifies energy can backfire. It doesn't create wealth, it echoes the fear, quietly, consistently, until every financial move feels heavier than it should. You might notice it in the small things. You hesitate to invest in yourself. You talk yourself out of opportunities. You default to safe even when your heart whispers ready. And the stone you hoped would open doors, it starts to feel like a weight. Not because it's cursed or broken, but because it's magnifying a signal that's already out of tune. There's a reason energy and money feel connected. Both require trust. Trust in timing, in effort, in enoughness. Jade isn't a shortcut to wealth. It's a mirror. If your internal story is still shaped by scarcity, Jade won't rewrite it. It'll amplify it until you either confront it or take the stone off. That's why people with deep money fears often find Jade hard to wear. It doesn't soothe them. It exposes what hasn't been healed. That old belief that there's never enough. That safety means control. That the only way to keep money is to squeeze it tight. But money isn't just something you protect. It's something you relate to. And when that relationship is dominated by fear, no external object, no matter how sacred, can shift it for you. You have to shift it first. You have to soften, to trust, to let go just a little, and see what happens when you move from fear to openness. If Jade feels heavy on your wrist when you're thinking about bills, if it makes you more cautious rather than more confident, that's worth paying attention to. That's not your failure, it's feedback, and you can honor it without shame, without story. Simply by recognizing that right now, your energy may need grounding before it can invite growth. Because true prosperity doesn't begin with the stone. It begins with your nervous system, your beliefs, your breath. When those are steady, Jade can support your journey. But if those are clenched, Jade might just reflect that tension back to you. Not to punish, but to reveal. And in that revelation is your choice. Hold tighter, or soften, control more, or allow, fear the flow, or begin to trust it. Number 3. You've experienced grief or loss, but haven't fully released it. There's a kind of weight you learn to carry in silence. Not because you want to, but because life asked you to keep going after the funeral, after the goodbye, after the moment that shifted something in you forever. You smiled through it, you worked through it. Maybe you even convinced yourself you'd moved on. But some things don't leave just because time passes. Grief has its own clock. And when it lingers unprocessed, it doesn't just sit in your heart, it settles in your energy. Quiet, heavy, unspoken. And that's where stones like Jade can become complicated. Jade is known for its grounding, healing qualities. But healing doesn't happen in a vacuum. It needs readiness. And if you're still holding unresolved grief that hasn't been felt fully, named out loud, or released, then Jade can stir it. Not gently, not always kindly, because Jade isn't soft, it's reflective. It pulls unspoken energy to the surface, and when that energy is sorrow, loss, regret, it can feel like the stone is working against you. You might find yourself more emotional when wearing it, crying unexpectedly, snapping at people you love, feeling raw in moments that don't make sense. Or maybe you feel numb, like the stone is muting everything, not helping you feel more. That's not coincidence, that's collision. Between your intention to feel better and your body's need to grieve what it hasn't yet faced. Sometimes, you wear Jade hoping it will calm you. But if you're still carrying emotional weight you haven't given space to, Jade won't dissolve it, it will amplify it. Not out of cruelty, but because it's asking for honesty. And honesty often begins in discomfort. This doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean the Jade is wrong for you forever. It means your energy isn't ready for amplification, it needs gentleness first. A different kind of holding. A slower, more compassionate process. Because when grief sits unspoken, any mirror becomes painful. And Jade, by its nature, reflects. If you've gone through a loss, a loved one, a dream, a version of yourself, and you never quite gave yourself permission to fully feel it, that grief doesn't disappear. It hides in your body, in your sleep, in your hesitation to hope again. And when you wear something meant to open, elevate, invite flow, that trapped grief blocks the path. The stone feels off, and you don't know why. But your body knows. Your energy knows. So take this as an invitation not to throw the Jade away, but to pause. To acknowledge what's still healing. To ask yourself if the stone's discomfort is actually a call for softness, not strength. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do isn't to wear something sacred, but to let yourself rest before returning to it. Because healing isn't linear. And stones are not magic, they're mirrors. If you're not ready to face what's inside, even the most high-vibe object can feel like pressure. But when you are ready, when you've named the grief, honored it, Released even a part of it, then Jade can support the next phase of your journey. Not by fixing you, but by walking beside you. Lighter this time, because now there's room. Number 4. You believe more in luck charms than in your own worth. You reach for the bracelet before the meeting, the ring before the interview, the pendant before the sale. Not because it matches your outfit, but because deep down, you feel like you need it. Like without it, something might go wrong. That your effort alone isn't enough. That your words, your presence, your energy need just a little boost from something outside of you. And that belief, quiet, habitual, almost invisible, is where things begin to misalign. Let's be honest, we all want a little help. A sign, a symbol. Something that says, you're protected, you're lucky, you'll be okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But when your sense of worth is built on what you wear rather than who you are, no stone, no matter how sacred, can truly support you. Because Jade isn't here to carry your doubt. It's here to amplify your self-belief. And if that self-belief is missing, all it can do is mirror the void. This is the shadow side of lucky charms. When they become crutches instead of companions. When you stop trusting yourself and start outsourcing your confidence to objects. When your decisions begin to rely on whether you remembered the bracelet, not whether you've done the work. Prepared the pitch, shown up fully as yourself. That's not alignment, that's dependence. And Jade, in particular, doesn't respond well to dependence. It responds to clarity, to self-trust, to presence. If you're constantly reaching for something outside of yourself to feel ready, it might be time to pause and ask, what am I afraid will happen without this? The answer isn't shame, it's awareness. And that awareness is everything. Because Jade won't create worth where it's not already rooted. It will only amplify what you bring to it. That's why, for some people, Jade becomes a quiet force of stability, and for others, it creates anxiety, doubt, even financial setbacks. Not because of bad luck, but because the stone is trying to reflect your truth, and your truth, at this moment, might be that you're looking everywhere but inward for validation. This doesn't mean you need to throw away the bracelet or stop believing in energy. It means you're being invited to recenter. To remember that your worth isn't something you wear, it's something you are. That your presence, your voice, your decisions already carry power, and when you reconnect with that, Jade becomes an amplifier, not a savior. You'll know the difference. When your self-worth is intact, the stone feels like a companion, a soft reinforcement of what you already know. But when your self-worth is shaky, the stone becomes a lifeline, and lifelines that come from fear rarely bring clarity. They bring more fear. So if you've noticed that you feel less than without your favorite ring, or anxious if you forget to wear your crystal, that's not failure. That's a sign. A whisper that it's time to rebuild from the inside out. Because the most powerful energy isn't in the object, it's in the belief behind it. And when you believe in you fully, quietly, without reaching for luck, the things you wear don't make you strong. They simply reflect the strength you've already reclaimed. Number 5. You wear it because someone told you to, not because you truly feel connected. You didn't choose it for yourself. Maybe it was a gift. Maybe someone said it would bring luck, balance, or healing. Maybe it came from a place of love, tradition, or spiritual advice. So you wore it out of respect, out of curiosity, out of hope. You listened to what others believed about the stone. But somewhere along the way, you forgot to ask the only question that really matters. Does this actually feel right for me? This is one of the most common and quiet disconnects when it comes to jade and other energy-based stones. We inherit beliefs. We accept guidance. We wear what's supposed to help, often without pausing to feel whether it actually does. And when something doesn't feel right, we assume the fault is ours. Maybe I'm not spiritual enough. Maybe I didn't charge it properly. Maybe I just need more time. But sometimes, the truth is simpler and harder to admit. Maybe it was never meant for you to begin with. Energy isn't one size fits all. What calms one person might unsettle another. What heals your friend might leave you feeling nothing at all. And yet, we're conditioned to override our own instincts in favor of tradition, advice, or appearances. We keep wearing the bracelet, keep trusting the stone, all while something inside us keeps whispering, "This doesn't feel like mine." That misalignment doesn't always show up as something dramatic. Sometimes it's just a subtle heaviness, a reluctance to put it on, a sense that your energy dips afterward, even if you can't explain why. And when that happens, we don't usually take the hint. We push through. We think, everyone says this works. I must be doing something wrong. But you're not doing anything wrong. You're just not listening to the part of you that already knows. Because deep connection, real alignment, isn't something someone else can hand you. It's not in the sales pitch, not in the ritual, not even in the intention behind the gift. It's in your felt sense. That quiet yes or no your body gives long before your mind catches up. And when a stone is truly for you, it doesn't just sit on your skin, it settles in your energy. It feels like ease, like a deep breath, like support you didn't have to work for. So if you're wearing something, simply because someone told you to, and not because you feel any real resonance, it's okay to question it. It's okay to set it aside. Owe your energy to an object that doesn't meet you where you are. And you don't need a reason that others understand. Feeling disconnected is reason enough. This is how alignment begins. Not with what looks good, not with what others say works, but with what feels like yours. And when you give yourself permission to release what doesn't, you make space for something that does. Not louder, not more expensive, just truer. You'll know it when it comes, because this time you won't have to be told. You'll feel it. Part 3: 3 types of people who naturally align with Jade. Number 1. The deeply intuitive but self-doubting soul. Number 1. The deeply intuitive but self-doubting soul. You sense things before they're spoken. You notice the tension in a room before anyone says a word. You pick up on shifts, glances, feelings, the emotional undercurrents others miss entirely. This sensitivity isn't something you learned. It's something you've always carried. A quiet radar, tuned to everything. But with that gift often comes a burdened doubt. Not in what you feel, but in whether you're allowed to trust it. If this is you, you might spend your life navigating two realities: the world others see and the one you feel. You sense when something's off, even when it looks fine. You know when someone isn't telling the full story, even if their smile is perfect. But instead of honoring those signals, you question them. You shrink them down. You replay the moment later and think, maybe I was overreacting. Maybe I made that up. That's not a flaw in your intuition. That's a crack in your self-trust. And this right here is where Jade becomes something more than a stone. For deeply intuitive souls who doubt themselves, Jade doesn't provide clarity, it amplifies belief. It doesn't scream louder than your inner knowing. It helps you hear that knowing more clearly. The kind of clarity that doesn't rush in like thunder, but rises like a quiet, steady breath. With Jade, you begin to trust your first instincts again. Not because you can explain them, but because you no longer need to. Jade anchors your sensitivity. It gives it weight, form, permission. It says, you're not crazy, you're clear. And when that belief settles into your system, everything shifts. You speak up sooner. You say no without guilt. You stop second-guessing things that don't feel right. And perhaps most importantly, you stop needing everyone else to agree with you before you move. Because intuitive people often carry a secret they don't want to be right. They just want to feel safe trusting themselves. And Jade supports that safety not by shielding you from the world, but by rooting you deeper in your own rhythm. It makes your energy feel solid, contained. You're still sensitive but less porous, less scattered, more whole. If you've ever been told you're too emotional, too sensitive, too much, Jade doesn't quiet your gift. It strengthens it. It helps you draw the line between perception and projection, between feeling everything and being swallowed by it. That distinction is subtle, but powerful. And for the self-doubting intuitive, it's often the missing piece. So if you recognize yourself in these words, if you've spent years sensing more than you could explain, but shrinking from that knowing, this may be the match you didn't know you needed. Not because Jade fixes you, but because it doesn't ask you to explain yourself. It simply reflects you back to yourself whole, wise, and finally worthy of your own truth. Number 2. someone who's healed from pain and is now ready to move forward. You've been through something. Maybe it broke your heart. Maybe it broke your plans. Maybe it broke your sense of who you thought you were supposed to be. But you got through it not quickly, not easily, but honestly. You cried when no one saw. You questioned everything. You rebuilt yourself, piece by quiet piece. And now something inside you whispers, I'm ready. You don't want to live in survival mode anymore. You're done carrying grief like it's your second skin. You're not here to repeat the past, you're here to step into what's next. But even in this readiness, there's hesitation. Because once you've lived through deep pain, moving forward doesn't always feel like momentum. Sometimes it feels like betrayal. Like letting go of the hurt means letting go of the part of you that held on. And that's where Jade comes in, not as a push, but as a companion. For those who have walked through pain and come out softer, not colder, Jade is a quiet mirror of what's now possible. It doesn't ask you to forget. It doesn't erase the past. It simply grounds the present. It steadies the new roots. It says, yes, what hurt mattered, but what comes next matters too. That kind of support is gentle, but powerful. It gives shape to your healing, helps your energy shift from protection into possibility. When your inner world is finally calm enough to grow, but still tender enough to doubt, Jade acts like a soft bridge. It holds you at that edge where your old story ends and your new one begins. And instead of asking you to leap, it walks with you, step by step. You start trusting life again, not blindly, not naively, but with your eyes open and your heart intact. This is where the real power of Jade lies. Not in creating change, but in anchoring your readiness for it. It doesn't drag you into transformation, it reflects your capacity to choose it. To no longer identify with your pain as your whole identity. To honor what happened without letting it define what's possible. So if you've done the work, if you've sat with your sorrow, if you've finally reached a point where you're not asking why anymore, but what now? You're likely ready for the kind of support Jade offers. Not flashy, not dramatic, but steady, rooted, present. Because healing isn't about becoming someone new. It's about returning to who you were before the world told you to shrink. And Jade, for the ones who are ready, doesn't just reflect who you've become, it protects who you're becoming. Not from the outside world, but from the old patterns that try to pull you back. You don't need a rescue. You've already rescued yourself. What you need now is reinforcement. Quiet, strong, steady. That's what Jade is, when you're finally ready to move forward, not because the past didn't matter, but because your future finally does. Number 3. The peaceful, slow-paced spirit who needs a quiet push toward abundance. You don't rush, you never have. While others chase deadlines and jump at opportunities, you move with intention. You take your time not because you're unsure, but because you understand something most people don't. Pressure doesn't equal progress. You're steady. You're observant. You value peace, quiet, and consistency. And in a world that rewards hustle, your calm is your rebellion. But even peace, when left unchecked, can become a cage. If you're the kind of person who avoids chaos, who chooses comfort over confrontation, who would rather stay in the familiar than risk the unknown, there's beauty in that. But there's also a quiet cost. Over time, your life can become so soft, so safe, that you forget what it's like to want more. Not out of greed, but out of growth. You stop reaching. You settle. You say, this is enough, even when a small part of you wonders what else might be possible. That's where Jade steps in, not with fire, not with force, but with a gentle nudge. Jade doesn't disrupt your rhythm. It doesn't shake you out of your stillness. It simply invites movement where there's been too much stillness for too long. A soft shift, a quiet momentum. It awakens your desire to stretch, to expand, to participate more fully in the abundance waiting around you, not because you're lacking, but because you're finally ready to receive. For peaceful spirits, Jade works like a reminder. You're allowed to grow without losing your calm. You can say yes without abandoning your center. You can step forward without running. You don't need to become someone else, you just need to give the version of you that's been waiting permission to emerge. You might notice small changes first. A clearer thought when you wake up. A conversation you used to avoid becoming easier. An idea that used to feel too big now feels quietly doable. That's Jade not pushing you, but holding space for your expansion. For someone like you, who resists pressure, this kind of energy is essential. Because abundance doesn't come through force, it comes through resonance. And when you begin to move gently, deliberately in the direction of your own potential, life responds. Opportunities appear, support arrives, finances shift, not all at once, but steadily, sustainably. If you've been feeling like you're standing still in a life that's fine, but not fully alive, Jade may be exactly the energy you need. Not to change who you are, but to activate who you've always been beneath the layers of comfort and routine. Because peace isn't meant to keep you small, it's meant to make you strong. And Jade, when matched with your energy, becomes the kind of support that honors your pace while quietly guiding you toward more. Not more chaos, more meaning. Not more noise, more resonance. That's the kind of abundance your spirit is ready for. And Jade, it's already waiting to meet you there. Part 4: What to do if you suspect a mismatch. You've tried to ignore it. That faint heaviness, the subtle discomfort. The way your energy shifts, not in a calming way, but in a way that feels slightly off every time you wear the piece. You've questioned yourself more than the stone. Wondered if maybe you're too sensitive, too inconsistent, too disconnected. But here's the truth: if something feels misaligned, it probably is. And honoring that isn't weakness, it's wisdom. You don't need to prove your loyalty to a bracelet. You don't have to keep wearing something just because it once meant something, or because it came with meaning attached. If a stone no longer feels right on your skin, or never did, your body isn't lying. Your breath isn't lying. That slight pressure in your chest when you clasp it on, that hesitation you override, those are not small things. They're signals, and you're allowed to listen. So what do you do when you suspect a mismatch? First, pause. Gently, without judgment. Don't rush to discard it or force a conclusion. Wrap the stone in something natural: cotton, silk, linen, and let it rest. Place it somewhere quiet, somewhere you won't pass by and feel guilty. Give it space. Give yourself space. You're not abandoning it. You're releasing it from the responsibility of carrying your energy when the fit is no longer there. Then wait. 2 weeks, maybe longer. Let your nervous system settle without it. Let your thoughts become your own again. And then, if you feel called, try wearing it once more early in the morning, when your energy is clean, before the world has a chance to interfere. Feel, don't think. If your body softens, if your breath deepens, if your day flows a little more gently, that's a yes. If your mind spins, if tension returns, if your sleep stirs again, that's your clarity. There's no shame in outgrowing something that once helped you. There's no guilt in admitting something sacred no longer serves. Objects can be beautiful, meaningful, gifted with love, and still not be for you. You can honor what they were without forcing them to be what they're not anymore. And if the match truly isn't there, you don't have to throw it away. You can return it to the earth. You can pass it on cleansed, thanked, with a quiet wish that it finds someone whose energy sings back to it. Because when we release something with intention, we make space. Not just physically, but energetically. And space is what invites the right energy in. In the end, this isn't about stones. It's about self-trust. About giving yourself permission to choose alignment over obligation. To believe what your body tells you, even when tradition says otherwise. To let go of the things that once held you but now hold you back. Because your clarity is louder than superstition. Your energy is wiser than a rule. And when something no longer fits, you don't have to explain why. You just have to listen and trust that letting go is not an ending, but an opening. One that leads you back to yourself. Final. Not every stone belongs to every soul, and not every soul is meant to carry every energy. What we've explored together in this video isn't just about jade or jewelry or even energy. It's about relationship. The relationship you have with yourself, with your intuition, with what feels right and what no longer does. Because energy doesn't lie. It speaks in small ways: in tension, in restlessness, in sleep that doesn't restore, in decisions that suddenly feel harder than they should. And the objects we carry, the ones we wear without thinking, They're not just decoration. They hold memory, emotion, frequency. They either help you rise or slowly hold you back. So if you've recognized yourself in these moments, in the overthinking, the fear, the fatigue, the quiet doubt, you're not alone. And you're not doing anything wrong. You're just becoming more attuned to what you actually need, to what actually supports you. And that awareness, that's the beginning of alignment. That's the turning point. Maybe the bracelet stays. Maybe it goes. Maybe it rests for a while, until you're ready to meet it again from a new place. Whatever you choose, let it come from trust, not pressure. From clarity, not fear. Thank you for staying with me, for being willing to feel, to question, to listen. I hope this brought something soft and clear into your space today, a breath, a shift, a knowing. And wherever you are on your path, whether standing still or stepping forward, I hope you carry one quiet truth with you. You are enough, with or without the stone. You are aligned, even in the unsteady moments. And the energy that truly belongs to you will never ask you to doubt yourself to receive it. Until next time, stay steady, stay honest, and above all, stay close to the wisdom already inside you.